Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/ProRevenge. In the first story, we'll tell you how our OP gets revenge on his abuser for publicly humiliating him. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Butt into my business and embarrass me in public? Hope you enjoy unemployment. A little backstory first. My older brother adopted me when I was 14. I lived with him, his wife, and her 2 children, one a couple months older than me, the other a year older. I've never gotten along with the younger one. His mother and father went through a divorce, and both parents spoiled the hell out of him. His father owned several businesses, making around $1 million a year, so he's your typical entitled D-bag, who's always clashed with me, someone who grew up poor. This is the type of dude that kicked a dog we all raised from a 4-week-old puppy because she was excited to see him after not seeing him for 6 months, and she was jumping around. He's the type of dude that's ruined Thanksgiving because the milk was 2% instead of 1% by screaming, yelling, and cussing everyone out at the age of 29. Now on to the story. I was on a phone plan with his mother, but I lost my job, unable to pay the last $60 I owe her. But we'd worked it out that I would pay her back on Thanksgiving by installing a stereo on my brother's, her husband's, new pickup. A little over a week ago, I was picking up Fallout 4 for a friend who was at work at the GameStop in the local mall. Nephew works across the little walkway and saw me walk in from outside where he was walking into work. While I'm in line, he comes in, cuts in front of everyone, and cusses me out, saying I shouldn't be buying games when I owe his mom money. I told him he needed to back the hell off and not talk crap about stuff he knew nothing about. He kept on and on running his mouth. I got my friend's game and walked out with him following me out the door. When I got to the door, he stopped ranting and went back to work with a smug look on his face. I lived with this guy for years, so I know him very well. When I hopped in my car, I realized he'd parked in front of me and my dash cam was on. He sells illegal pills out of his truck to subsidize his low wages at the mall, and I remembered that he always showed up to work early, so I rewound my dash cam, and sure enough, you could clearly see him sell that crap. I sent an email with the video of him selling the pills to the management of the mall from a new email address as a concerned citizen. 3 days later, while talking to my brother, he told me that my nephew got fired from his job and banned from the mall property. My response? That sucks. Enjoy not getting that unemployment check, a-hole. And our next story. I want detailed reports on everything that happens. Everything. This takes place about 10 years ago when I'd finally escaped from the crippling misery of retail and began working in the weird and wonderful field of social care. Specifically, this story takes place in a care home for adults with extremely severe learning disabilities and features both myself and my one-time colleague, and now dear and treasured friend. I'll call him GC, because he's a ginger C. This was mostly his doing. So at the time, GC and I were both on permanent night shift, and because there's only 4 of us in the building at night, we'd all get quite pally. Night shift is honestly pretty easy. Most of the residents would be in bed when our shift started, so our only major duties were doing regular checks to make sure everyone was alive and well, giving them personal hygiene care if needed, and generally cleaning and supply stocking in the communal rooms and bathrooms. It was a pretty sweet gig, and the night shift had a good system. We'd batter through the cleaning and stocking up as quickly as possible, then take turns doing checks throughout the night. This left us with a good bit of time to hang out, watch movies, read, whatever, barring a medical emergency or death, which were very rare. Well, about 6 months into working there, one of the night shift team leaves and someone from the day shift gets bumped into the night team. I call him WS because he was less of a man and more of an enormous fermented wank stain. WS was looking to climb the ladder in the company and figured a good way to go about it would be to grass up his colleagues to management. He'd go and tell tales for the most petty crap, and if you didn't do something exactly as it's written in one of the millions upon millions, I exaggerate but not by much, of often arbitrary protocols, your butt was getting reamed by the manager. I'll get to her later, though. So anyway, GC, myself, cute Filipino girl, CFG, and WS have our first night shift together. We fill WS in on the routine, divide the work amongst ourselves, and get to it. We have a pleasant, easy night and go home to sleep in the morning. At about midday, my girlfriend, now hot ginger wife, just saying, wakes me up saying someone keeps phoning for me. I take the call and it's my manager. We'll call her FB because round here we refer to folk like her as effing belter. FB is demanding that the whole night shift team come in 2 hours early. I'll find out why when I get there. At this point, I'm assuming something bad happened. Major accident, sudden death of a resident. Nope. FB, I received an email from your colleague WS this morning informing me that you spend the whole night shift slacking off. Me. FB, that's not true. FB, I don't want to hear it. I trust WS. I know what you two are like, meaning me and GC. And CFG, I'm incredibly disappointed in you. Then she goes on a rant at CFG. Poor lassie never did a effing thing wrong. Was nearly crying by the end of FB's tirade. Halfway through this, GC hits me with the look. If you read my last story, you'll know it as the F this C look. FB, from tonight onwards, you'll have extra duties on top of what you already do. And I want detailed reports on everything that happens during the night. Everything. WS will be reporting to me to let me know that you're doing as you're told. I open my mouth to protest, but GC shuts me off. GC, no problem, FB. We'll get that done. I STFU because something's wrong here. You know that sense of easygoing malevolence that cats and gingers give off? GC was radiating that crap. So a few hours later, our shift starts. We're all pissed at WS, but we go through the usual routine, divide our work in checks and banter through. I'm grabbing a cuppy and chatting to CFG when GC swans into the kitchen. The three of us together, I ask, so what are we going to do about these effing bullcrap reports? GC, we're going to do exactly what we're told. Vibby, get pens and a lot of effing paper. If that leather-faced C wants detailed reports, she's effing getting them. He then informed us of the plan. The three of us, with WS observing from the sideline, proceed to spend the rest of the night documenting every single minute occurrence in the most asinine level of detail you can imagine. We wrote in-depth about the cleaning process with individual entries for each room, down to the volume of cleaning supplies used, 4 squirts of D10 per table, rubbing through with a blue cloth. GFC even included WS's activities at 5-minute intervals. 99% of them were drinking coffee and reading the paper. GC went so far as to include individual temperature checks for each bedroom for each hourly check. By the morning, FB's desk had a detailed report that resembled effing War and Peace waiting for her on it, and it did the next morning. And the next. For about a week. Eventually, we all got summoned to FB's office, and with some degree of exasperation, were informed that, okay, we'd made our point. Just do more to try to keep busy during the night. We're not paid to watch movies and play cards. Fair enough, Hen. WS would also be returning to the day shift. FB had actually read all our reports, actually gained a modicum of respect for her there, and she was pissed that while we were writing the great Scottish novel, the sniveling wee pea was sitting on his butt doing F all. Night shift was awesome again after that, and we did indeed change our ways and spent more time working during the night. We did the cleaning, really slowly. Took all effing night. Hope you enjoyed this as much as the last. Peace, love, and lollipops. Never understood that whole night shift doesn't do enough theory. Like, duh, you stupid butt. We get the job done quicker because we have less bullcrap to interrupt us. And anyone else is welcome to slack off in the night hours too if they can handle actually being awake at night. You hire night shift because you need them, and nobody wants to be them. And our last story. My cousin gets ultimate revenge on his former boss. I was reminded about this story by my cousin. I must forewarn you, I don't have a lot of knowledge in business, so some details may be left out. Anyways, my cousin was an aspiring actor in LA. His parents put him into acting when he was young because they thought he wouldn't make it in a real job. Obviously, it's tough to make ends meet without steady work, so he was offered a job by his brother-in-law's dad to work at his insurance agency. They sell insurance to hospitals, nursing homes, etc. These are typically multi-million-dollar deals that span several years due to the extensive risks of operating a hospital. Well, it turns out my cousin is actually very business-minded, worked really hard, and learned the trade very well. He eventually worked his way up and even secured a few deals for the company, which comes with a nice little commission pay. Except they didn't want to pay him, of course. Remember how I said he learned the trade really well? At this point, he knew enough to feel confident branching out on his own, so he went to a large insurance company in the state and told them he had 10 deals lined up with hospitals and he could finish them by the end of the year. In return, they'd make him the sole insurance agent for that region. In reality, he had no deals lined up yet, but he was confident he could get them because he was going to undercut the competition, including his former company, because he had essentially zero overhead and would take half the usual commission to also save the hospital some money. Even though he was taking half the commission, doing 10 multi-million-dollar deals would be a huge payout, and he was willing to sacrifice his commission early on to get in the game. The risk ended up paying off huge. He was able to close 10 deals by working his butt off, and he exploded in the market, and ended up crippling a lot of the agencies in the same area, including his former agency owned by his brother-in-law's dad. And yes, he ended up getting the ultimate revenge a few years later by buying that business as a big F you to the family member that stiffed him. His parents put him into acting at a young age because they didn't think he'd make it in a real job? That's all sorts of a new level of stupid. Glad he proved him wrong. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.